I would now like to welcome to the stage two very special people, Christine Schwartz and Anthony Patullo. So Chris Schwartz earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in nursing at UIC and a Master's of Science in Health Education from Urbana. She is a member of the UIC College of Nursing's Dean External Advisory Board and the President's Council of the University of Illinois Foundation, as well as a life member of the University of Illinois Alumni Association. She also is active in the Sigma Theta Tau International Nursing Honor Society. Through Chris's visionary leadership, the UIC College of Nursing's physical environment has been transformed with the construction, design, and renovation of facilities that were built in 1969. This included the M. Christine Schwartz Experiential Learning Laboratory, the M. Christine Schwartz Lobby, and the M. Christine Schwartz Research Seminar Rooms at the College of Nursing. Due to her generous support, Chris has been a philanthropic leader at UIC, certainly for the College of Nursing, but also for the Ignite campaign, as she has provided some of the largest gifts in its history. In addition to her interest in nursing, Chris advocates for the arts through her membership in Sustaining Fellows at the Art Institute of Chicago, Art Encounter in Evanston, Illinois, a nonprofit art education outreach organization, and her collection of Chicago artists view on her website, shortscollection.com. Currently, 2 paintings from this collection are on loan to the newly reopened Illinois Governor's Mansion in Springfield. Please join me in warmly welcoming Christine Schwartz. Thank you. So now I would like to bring another person to the stage, Mr. Anthony Patullo. Tony Patullo earned his BS in marketing from the University of Illinois here at Urbana-Champaign. After graduation, Tony went on to serve as a U.S. Navy officer, worked for Mobil Corporation, and ultimately founded and became president of a successful temporary hiring firm in Milwaukee, Olson Staffing Services. An expert in outsider art, Tony has built a renowned and vast collection of art that has been shared with a number of museums, including our very own Cranner Art Museum. His philanthropy has also established co-programs at the Illinois Leadership Center, 1 named professorship, 2 fellowships, each in the School of Art and Design, and has created the Patullo Scholars, a series of scholarships which recognize Geese College of Business students who have demonstrated academic excellence and commitment to serve others. Please join me in welcoming Tony Patullo. Thank you. Good morning. Good to see you again. Okay, so now we get on to the fun part. Okay, would you mind just starting us off by telling us, what inspired you to make your first gift to the University of Illinois and how that's impacted you?
I'm from the College of Nursing at UIC in Chicago, and I had been away from the university for probably 30 years, and the dean, Terry, called me in and said, would you like to come back and visit campus? And I said, sure, of course. It's been a while. It's a good time to redo our relationship. So I walk into the lobby of the College of Nursing up in Chicago, and here sitting in the middle of the lobby is this 40-foot tall, boarded up situation that blocks all the view and all the sunlight. And I said, Dean, what is this? And she says, well, this is the escalator that has not been working for 10 years, and for 3 years we have turned down the money to get it fixed. And I go, seriously, how do you expect anybody to want to come to school here when you're welcomed with a boarded up escalator? Obviously, I'm a bricks and mortar philanthropist. I said, Dean, send me the numbers. I'm going to get rid of this escalator, which went through 3 floors. So I'm inviting you up to this incredible lobby, because in addition to, I said, getting rid of it, I said, you know what? I want this lobby to be dedicated to all the future nursing students and to the current nursing students and faculty and staff to have an area to congregate in, wire up on their computers, to meet and greet, and that's what we have now. Huge lobby, beautiful sunlight. So I'm inviting you all to Chicago, to the College of Nursing, and see the library, see the lobby, and you will hang out with all the students the minute you open that door. It's a great feeling.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Tony, would you mind sharing your experience?
Thank you, Nicole. During the 1990s, I made a few modest donations to the university and some artwork to the Krannert Art Museum, and was involved in helping establish a better community relations for the Art Museum. And in year 2000, I thought maybe I better do something a little more. So I called my friend Bernie at the foundation, and I said, Bernie, I'd like to do something a little more significant. So why don't you take a look around and see how I can make an impact with students and something that's different. So she said, I'll take a look. 30 minutes later, Pat Askew, the vice chairman of student affairs, called. I had never met Pat, and we introduced ourselves. And then she started talking and talking and talking. And I finally said, Pat, please take a breath. I need to ask some questions. So I asked some questions about what her program was. Well, it was about student leadership. And she and some faculty and administrators and a few students had been working on a very unique leadership program, but they had no money. So I said, why don't you send me some information about what you've been doing and where you are? So a couple of weeks later, my daughter Amy and I made a trip down, and we talked to that whole group for a couple of hours. And then we left because we were going to meet with Pat and Pat Askew and Bernie Freeman, and then Provost Richard Herman for dinner at the Illini Union. And Amy and I were staying there. So before dinner, I called Amy's room and I said, Amy, come over and we're going to talk about this. So we sat in my room and said, okay, what do you think of this? And we made a decision and went off to dinner. So now we're having chit-chat during dinner, and everybody's on pins and needles on the other side of the table. And so Pat's talking about, where their ambitious plans of what they plan to do. So it got quiet, and I said, well, would $1 million help you get started? And Pat later told me she wanted to jump over the table and hug me. Well, they got started. They're now celebrating their 15th year of operation. And just for example, last year they had 1,200 students spend one day in leadership, a variety of I programs in leadership. And it makes a significant change in their attitude. 6,000 students were parts of various workshops across campus, helped by student interns. 200 people or more are now in what developed because of leadership, a minor in leadership, and 90 people completed a leadership certificate last year, which is very extensive study and several courses to do this. And today, I'm very proud. That was my first investment. We'll talk about more later.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. So you both have such varied backgrounds and have lived and gone different places. Can you please tell us, what motivates you to stay involved with the University of Illinois? What keeps you here with us?
I think, first of all, the dean won't let me leave. I just finished the escalator project, and guess what? She has a new sim lab that's in the works right now that we're funding and will be done next year, 15,000 square feet. And so now, as I remove the escalator, this is in the lower basement level of the College of Nursing. 24 toilets were down there we had to take out. So I tell you, this is the most interesting school ever. But great bones, and the sim lab will be done next year, so we will be able, one of the most exciting things about this that keeps me coming back is that we have 6 campuses. We are covering the entire state of Illinois to create nurses to take care of you people when somebody is not doing so well. So that's one of our missions, to do that. And we need the simulation lab, which is why it's always something else to improve the facilities to make us, into the 22nd century. So it's those kinds of things that just getting better and better, and the tools that our students need to do that.
Great, thank you. How about you, Tony?
I've lived for the last 50 years in the state of Wisconsin, that place that has mostly red color. So when I wear orange, I stick out. But I was born and raised in Chicago. So when I come back to this campus, beginning in late 80s probably and 90s, more and more, each time I felt like I was coming home. Oh. And even today, yesterday when I arrived, what's today, Friday? Wednesday, I've been here for 3 days already. On Wednesday, I was walking around in all this heat and thinking, this is just like home. This is what I remember about my youth, my young adulthood. And listening to President Killeen now talk about all their ambitious plans, which I think are absolutely fantastic, especially when we're getting so much less money from the state than when I was here, far, far less cash. And how they could do so much with the resources they have, and the innovation and all the new programs, the interdisciplinary work, has just made me feel so strong about continuing to support this university.
Great. Thank you both so much for that. So as we move on here, can you tell us, what from your life has played a role in inspiring your involvement here at the University of Illinois? Would you like to start us off, Tony?
Probably nursing. Nursing, is caring, and it's just a small step to bettering mankind by doing that. So it's a natural extension, but I think that, we've seen this occurs in many of the universities. I'm excited about seeing young people and young students get involved in philanthropy from day one when they step on campus. Mm-hmm. When I went to school, we did not think about that. It wasn't even mentioned. We were just trying to beat the books and get through the tests and survive and get enough sleep. But in your case, I was very excited, and I want to get one question eventually to ask you how that is now, having you become aware of the research in philanthropy and being the young face of philanthropy, which is so exciting going forward, especially after you graduate. So just hold that question. So I think we should all learn.
Tony?
Thank you. I came from very modest beginnings, and I earned about 2/3 of what it cost me every year to attend the university. My father gave me 1/3. That was $40 a month, incidentally. And so that's a long time ago. And so I realized how tough it was to get through on that amount of money. And I didn't have much excess, We remember you had a ratio on campus of 3 men to 1 woman. So if you didn't have much money, the best you could do on a date was, if you found one, was, would you like to go Dutch treat?
Oh, gosh.
So, but, over the years, especially in the last couple of decades, I've watched the cost of attending this major university escalate. So I developed my own little formula. And I used a ratio of what it cost me, my total expense for 1 year, my last year here, and then what was my starting annual salary. And I made a ratio out of that. The ratio for me was my salary was about 3.5 or more times the cost of my last year here. If I judge an average cost around all colleges here, which could go from, vary widely, their starting salaries. And the cost of attending for 1 year here and their salaries. Salaries today would be somewhere between 1.25 or 1 and 3 times. So you could see it's so much more expensive to attend versus the annual income that you would receive in your first year out in the work society. So it's absolutely necessary to have scholarships. If your family can't support you here, you're going to have to work a lot more. I never could have made it with that kind of ratio. I never could have attended this university. There weren't that many scholarships, and it just wouldn't have been possible. So it's very important that they have, some of my students, my Petulo scholars, have 2, even 3 scholarships, piecing it together. And then they're working part-time on campus. Sometimes they can't attend our sessions because they're working. So scholarship support is absolutely critical.
Great. Thank you so much. You know, that's a lot of math, Tony, and we're really, really happy that you've done it and that you both give back. So thank you. But I'll go back to your question, Chris. So this past summer when I was at the foundation, I got to learn a lot about philanthropy and how it works and kind of the different facets of it. And it was really inspiring to be a scholarship recipient, both academic and athletic, to see how that impacted myself, and then to some of my teammates and classmates who were having 3 jobs and on scholarships and trying to go to practice in class. So if I can do something to kind of pull in the young alumni and make them realize that it's so important to really give back, and then we can grow into amazing donors like the 2 of you, that's something that I'm really passionate about.
I think
You're a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's not easy, and yet you smile. You keep smiling.
Hey, life is good. We're all here.
You're happy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, moving on here, would you like to share an anecdote that really moved you, that you stick with throughout your life? I'll start with you, Chris.
My famous escalator story. Yes. It's really important, I think, for the person to understand that philanthropy is not just writing a check. I like the idea that you've expanded the whole scope of that, and that we need to reteach what philanthropy is, that it's like human kindness, and just we are a public university, and that anybody can participate in philanthropy even if they don't have the money, and maybe someday in the future they will, that we need to start this at the ground level. And that's that it's more than just writing a check. It's a whole feeling, it's a whole persona, and students can do that. Even if it's a human act of kindness, which we do in nursing all the time, but yet everybody in every college can do that. So philanthropy, we need to get everybody on board that it's bigger than just writing a check, and everybody could be part of it, which is a good thing.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that's why when I was looking up the definition, of philanthropy, that was one of the things that the financial part was actually kind of the second part. It's more about, promoting the welfare of people and helping people.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
That's interesting that you should say philanthropy and learning philanthropy. In my background, philanthropy was keeping the family together, and I had some mentors in Milwaukee who really taught me philanthropy. What is it all about? And then working in a lot of nonprofit organizations and sitting on boards in Milwaukee, I realized how important philanthropy was. And we didn't have a family history of it, so I think philanthropy has to be learned. And you have to help teach others about philanthropy. The students that in addition to a named professor as art and design, and then 2 graduate students, and one in the business college, a professor, and two graduate students. This year I had 13 scholars at Petulo Scholars. We meet every semester, and they submit questions to me at my request well before the meeting so that I can prepare, and some of their questions are pretty tough. They involve what's the real world like outside? How do I make the adjustment? Will I be accepted? What's happening in current events now? Are we going to have a market crash? One of my questions on Wednesday night when we had dinner with all the scholars was, when's the next recession? Wait. We're at a peak right now. Let's not talk about the recession. It's amazing what they get out of me being with them and communicating. So if you have a scholarship, if you give a scholarship, that's wonderful. Even more meaningful is meeting with that scholar, and if you could keep a relationship with that scholar, you make a big impact in that person's life. I have now 40 plus scholars at over 5 years now in the business college, and some of the graduates still email me. No. What do you think about this? I want to make a move. Well, what do you think? This is what I'm doing now. And they really become attached, and they need that. They need that reinforcement. So giving scholarships is wonderful, but I'm telling you, it is really fun to be with them on a regular basis and understand what they're going through. It's much, much more competitive today than I was here. There's a lot of stress involved. That was one of the questions they asked me on this round. They said, well, how do you control stress? And I said, I don't have stress. I give stress.
Oh, that was great. And I'll echo you too on the student side that getting to learn from, Mr. Filler and talk to someone who's even maybe not necessarily in your field, but someone outside of your family, outside of your professors and friends who you can bounce ideas off and learn from is a huge deal. And like you said, to some of the students who might not have that home background, who might not have their first generation students, they need a mentor who they can look to. So it's a huge deal, and so thankful that both of you are giving back and really connecting with the students. So as we move on here and wrap up, can you just tell us, how do you reflect on your contributions and what makes you the most proud so far?
Well, I think, philanthropy's changed into the idea that we need to do this while we're alive, because you just saw what Tony benefited from, seeing what those incredible human contacts, relations, financial backing, that we need to get over the idea that philanthropy happens after you've passed on, because you need to do this now. We need to do this while you're alive. And you need to start when you're really young. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing that keeps me pushing to do that. I have 22 nieces and nephews among our family. We decided, we are very big on giving them money. But we decided, what, we're going to give you your inheritance now. You are from age 9 through age 21. We gave all of them their inheritances 10 years ago, and I said, we have the office that will oversee these these gifts, and we have changed all their lives because we gave it to them when they were young. They're able to go to school, they're able to buy a car, they're able to buy a house or a condominium because of getting their inheritance. And the other thing that's really good about that is they don't wish us dead, because while we're alive, we're still writing checks. Yep. Yep. Wow.
Well, listen, how do you top that?
It is.
Listening to you, Nicole, about your sports, and it's really great. I participated in sports too, and it was a very integral part of my life. Mm-hmm. But we're going to have a football game tonight, and even though we may not be at the top of the Big Ten in some of the major sports, but this university, academically, in production, innovation, is a superstar. It really is a superstar. When you look at the number of Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer Prize winners, Crawford Chemistry, and all of the things that have come out here, sometimes we're too darn quiet about what we do. But this is a great university. And that's one of the reasons that I've supported two professors. And incidentally, in art and design, it was the first endowed professor they ever had in design. Wow. And design has become a very important part in all the other colleges. We're building this wonderful design center now, thanks to Tom Siebel. But the faculty here is outstanding, and there's huge competition to steal them. And so we have to support them. We have to support the students. This is a great, great university, and I'm extremely proud to be a member of the family.
Great. Thank you so much. We get to stay in the comfy chairs.
So I was supposed to come back up here and ask a few more questions. But you have said, what you've said really has, I think, been impactful. The passion you shared about why you do what you do. I don't know that I could ask any more questions, but I do want to make a point that, we talked about what philanthropy is. Chris said what it's not. It's not just about writing the check. One of the things I want to add to all of the lists of really the impact of giving and philanthropy is to say that, from my experience doing this work for 25 years, I've come to conclude that giving is heroic. When you think about the impact of the investments that have been made, you think about, in Nicole's case, the hero that she now has in Ron Filler. I can't thank you enough for being our heroes and for the thousands of lives you've impacted and will impact from here forward. So please join me one more time in a round of applause for these wonderful people. Thank you so much.